The Central Bank of Kenya has been sucked into 180 million Kenyan shillings fraud at the Youth Fund for failing to stop suspicious transactions. The bank's Financial Reporting Center is on the spot for not promptly averting further loss of funds after the transacting bank raised a red flag when it received instructions from the former acting Chief Executive Office of Youth Enterprise Development Fund, Catherine Namuye, to pay 115 million to Quadram Limited.
Accounting processes, because we have got an accounting procedure that we use before we make a payment.
Another 65 million shillings was also paid to the said consultancy firm to design a comprehensive information communication and technology strategy and enterprise resource planning design, which has since been established, was a sham. This week, the National Assembly's Public Investment Committee, which is probing the fraudulent amount paid to the Quadram Consultancy, learned that the firm opened an account with Chase Bank in 2013 and only had 3,000 Kenyan shillings, raising suspicions when Ms. Namuye ordered the transaction.
I realized that there was a problem. There was a 220. Then after the maturity of the second rollover, that was in April, I demanded that the money should have come back 400 in full. I even shared the same with the CEO, but the money that was sent to the fund was 120 million.
Further, the invoices and the contractual agreements tabled before the committee of the bank and those submitted to Quadram Managing Director Makuria Ngamau defied cross-examination. The MPs were baffled during the cross-examination when the bank denied knowledge of the 115 million shillings transaction it executed on behalf of Mr. Ngamau to Donnie Collins Reeves, who was the lead consultant for Quadram. Instead, what caught their attention was $57,000 paid to the foreign company for the supply of excavators and breakers. According to Chase Bank Director of Public and Regulatory Affairs, Payman Olenikara, they alerted FRC that only 6 million shillings had been withdrawn from the firm's account, leaving a balance of 109 million shillings.
Reporting this as a suspicious transaction. In that report, it was acknowledged on the 11th of March 2015, Appendix 11.
It emerged that the bank was not satisfied with Namuye's instructions and sought further clarification as a precautionary measure, including freezing Quadram's account. Public Investment Committee Vice Chairman Aden Kainan of Elders and members Kimani Ichung'wah of Kikuyu, Wafula Wamunyinyi of Kanduyi, Paul Otuoma of Funyula, Abdul Swamad Nasir of Mvita, Thomas Mwadegu of Wundayi, and Oburu Oginga nominated queried why the CBK did not act. Nasir said on the face of it, it appeared Quadram's account was open to swindle public funds on false pretenses.
We try to follow all the processes involved. And the transfer, after that transfer, we even froze this account of Quadram in an attempt to also stop this misappropriation, or if it came out to that, or loss of public funds.
Shocking details of how a youth fund driver was murdered to cover a scheme to loot millions of shillings from the fund have emerged. Suspended Youth Enterprise Development Fund Acting Chief Executive Officer Catherine Namuye says officers intent at hiding details of the scandal could have been responsible for the driver's death in October 2015. In a heated and emotional sitting of the Public Investments Committee, Namuye denied responsibility for the loss of the monies, saying the transactions were sanctioned by the board. Her long oral presentation saw the parliamentaries accuse her of evading questions.
Mr. Ngamau, when he appeared before this committee, of course, we have noted already that what he submitted to the bank and what he has already submitted, Chair, to this committee in terms of the invoices and the contracts are totally different.
Namuye now puts to doubt the authenticity of letters submitted to the committee, carrying her signature, saying she could not tell if she had authored them. Elsewhere, the anti-graft agency say that the Ministry of Interior has the highest incidence of corruption in the country. The anti-graft agency said, according to the report, corruption in the docket fell from 59.6% in 2012 to 40.3% in 2015, but it still remains the most corrupt. The Interior Ministry, which is headed by Cabinet Secretary John Kaiseri, is followed by Health 14.3% and Lands 11.3%. At position 4 is the corruption list in education 9.9%, followed by transport and infrastructure 6.1% and devolution and planning 5.1%. Defense follows at number 7 with 3.5%, while agriculture is next at 2.4%. The Education Ministry has been in the news over leaks of last year's Kenya Certificate of Primary Education and the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examination. Last November, President Uhuru Kenyatta transferred Fred Matiang'i from the Information and Technology docket to Education, replacing Professor Jacob Kaimenyi, who was moved to Lands Ministry. Kaimenyi has openly complained about the high levels of corruption in his ministry. The Devolution and Planning Ministry has been in the news over the 791 million Kenyan shillings National Youth Service scam, which forced former Cabinet Secretary Anne Waiguru to quit. The Ministry of Water and Irrigation is at number 9 with 2%, while the Finance and National Treasury, which the opposition has criticized over the way it handled the Eurobond money, is at position 10 with 1.7%. The Labour and East African Cooperation Affairs docket is at position 11 with 0.9%. According to the research conducted by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the Commission report released earlier this week and which highlights the extent of graft involved units shows that Embu County is leading in cases of bribery. Kisii County is the second most corrupt with a mean of 2.23, followed by Bomet 2.24, Kwale 1.93, Garissa 1.0 and Kiambu 1.66. In that order, with a mean of 1.50, Homa Bay, Wajir and Narok also rank high in the list of shame. At a position 10 with a mean of 1.44 is Murang'a. The National Ethics and Corruption Survey Report 2015 shows that nationally corruption has significantly increased in the last 3 years. New figure shows a rise of 6.2% over a similar 2012 survey. So dire is the scourge that patients have to bribe for medical attention in public hospitals.
It takes away the noise from commentary on corruption. This is empirical research. It's based on data. It's based on what people actually say, what people actually feel. These are real Kenyans from a cross-section of the country. So rather than you or I listening to a small selection of commentators on corruption, what this survey does is it gives you a more representative picture of the state of corruption in our country.
For KTS Weekly News Analysis, I'm Sheila Chebet.